I know that Sam's only been a Hatfielder for 2 years, technically now, but he's been incredibly involved. Last year he took a year out, but he still came along to all the Osborne's events, so he's still involved with the university things. And although in his first degree properly, when he was first on the Queen's campus at John Snow, he was the JCR photographer, so obviously he knows how to handle exact role, the things he needs to do, the necessary commitments, he can handle his work. But he once told me a very funny story about his time as JCR photographer, which I think sums up how invested he is really in Hatfield College, because God knows I wouldn't have done this. So he was working at the summer ball, all dressed in his formal clothes, working really late into the night, manages to get lucky, turns up in the middle of Durham, God knows where he is, runs through town, buys some shampoos, some clothes, and then decides to come to Hatfield Day because he hasn't had enough of a night already. And he then proceeded to take lots of photographs of Hatfield Day, which I've seen a couple of them and they're all lovely. Unfair talent. But yeah, I know him personally as his LGBT rep, and he turns up to all of my events. He's the only one that does, looking at you. And he's always there, and he's always lovely, he's always really great to have a chat to, and he's always helping me sort out my problems, like hanging up that damn flag on Monday that we could not get hung up for the life of us. And he was giving me this whole long talk, because no one else was there, and he was telling me about how he was applying to be facilities officer. And he has all these grand plans, and he really hopes he gets it, because he knows there's so much that can be made from Hatfield College, there's so much that he can do. And he's got checklists, and he's got a different checklist for every different facility on the college. I'll admit, I blanked out a little bit, because he just went so in depth. So I know he is prepared to take on the duties in this role, and I know that he's a lovely man, he's very easy to talk to, very reliable, because he'll turn up to everything, and he's approachable, and if you ever have anything you to say to him, he'll be there.
And now can we have a speech from Sam proposing Susanna? Also, by the way, I'm going to be live tweeting, so we're not all just on our phones.
You can tweet your thoughts to Hatfield Jason.
So I've had the pleasure of knowing Susanna since she was 11 years old, and in those years that have ensued, I've come to realise certain things about her. She jumped headfirst into everything that's kind of placed before her as a challenge, although this is partially evidenced by the fact that she runs into glass doors quite a lot. I mean, I've seen it happen about 7 times. And more compelling evidence is that she applied to this role, facilities officer, having only been a Hatfielder for less than 3 weeks. Indeed, whereas the average individual would take a position called FAC off as, would consider it to be ridiculous, in that to have that title in your name would be, slightly worrying. She saw this as a massive opportunity, and credit to her. Secondly, she enjoys helping others. Her membership of the student council while at school involves similar responsibilities to those that she'd have to take up as a facilities officer. She coordinated improvements in the state of her boarding house and went above and beyond to ensure that renovations did not segregate the community and the wider student body. She didn't do this because she had to. She formulated a lot of the role. She created her own space, and I believe if she was given the chance to be a facilities officer, she'd create her own space as well. Thirdly, she's steadfast and reasoned in her decision making. I've had some arguments with her in the past, and boy, I always lose. In a bit of context, despite coming from a pretty secular household, at the age of 13, Susanna told her mother, "I'm having a bar mitzvah and I'm learning Hebrew." She didn't have time left because you had to do it in a certain amount of time. But she learned Hebrew in less than 5 months, despite having been told by a senior rabbi that such a task was impossible and anyone attempting it would be, and I quote, "a complete schmuck." Her desire to become a rugby referee, even though she doesn't know one rule of the game, also shows that she takes things that, although seeming impossible, as a challenge that should be met with a smiling face. As both a friend and a fellow law student, I think she'd help the JCR, MCR and SCR in every way possible, improving Hatfield's facilities going forward. So I urge you all to focus on that.
Thank you both, and now we have some questions from Rob. So the first question to answer this one will be Sam, and then Susanna afterwards.
Yeah, so the process is I think I ask a couple, and then if anyone's got any questions, feel free to ask them, and then as well members of the exec, depending on their responses. So if we do, I don't know, who wants to go first? Ladies first. Outside your role, what are the weekly time commitments you would expect to have as a member of the JCR Exec Committee, and how will you be able to fulfil these time commitments alongside the duties of your role for the coming year?
Well, from what I can gather so far, there are obviously the formals, and that's on Tuesday and a Friday. There's also a weekly JCR meeting, and this apparently, from what I've heard of current members of the exec, is that it's not only limited to your role, so if someone needs help with anything, you're kind of expected to help out with that. And obviously that's something I'm very willing to do because I want to get as involved in college life as I can and see all kind of positions, if that's not spreading myself too thin. I don't have the most contact hours a week. I think I have like 5 or 6. I mean, I have a lot of reading, but I like to be kept busy because I think that brings structure to one's life. So, yeah, I will kind of timetable the JCR in, timetable academic commitments in, and kind of let it all work together as a little like cognitive machine.
I'm a very organised person, so I like to plan everything in advance. So with regard to sort of JCR exec commitments, I would make sure that I have that all planned. With regard to my course and things, I don't have that many contact hours, and they are kind of all grouped together, so I do have quite a lot of free time. I already love going to formals, so it wouldn't be an issue for me. And I'd love just to get as involved in the exec and college life as possible.
An important part of your position is to work with college officers and college staff. How would you go about liaising with them and make sure you reach decisions beneficial to the JCR as a whole, specifically to do with facilities, I suppose?
Well, I have a bit of experience with this already. Prior to coming here, I spoke to Trevor, the facilities manager, to get a bit more of an idea about sort of the pace renovations and the facilities that would be housed in there. I am pretty good at getting in contact with all the staff. I have already liaised with them in the past with regard to sort of student support moving in, being a third year. I do a lot of emailing. So yeah, I find that would be fine liaising with staff, particularly for the exec role.
Well, I'd probably send a quite irritating introductory email to all of them, being like, hello, talk to me. And then they are quite encouraging. I know Eleanor especially is always like, come into my office. So I'd probably utilise that, see them all individually, and maybe make a point of if I had something that I wanted to implement. Like I know that the facilities role includes helping design the common rooms in PACE, and I would like, every time I were to do something, I would ask their opinion before I were to say send out a questionnaire. And I spent quite a lot of time with Porter's Lodge, just when I lose things, and had some great conversations with them, and just, I guess, to be friendly and send some irritating emails, really.
I'll do one more. Explain what the PACE redevelopments are and the overall general redevelopment of college in the coming years, and how that might impact your role in the next few months.
Okay, well, I've only heard a rumour for why this is being redone, which I'm not going to say. But basically, to make nicer rooms, to make college a better place in general, because you know renovation of buildings does generally do that, makes it more aesthetically pleasing. Sorry, can you repeat part of the question?
So it's explain the PACE redevelopments and the future redevelopments in the coming years.
So they're all going to have ensuite bathrooms, will be quite modern, nice rooms, which is obviously a plus for the college. I've actually heard that Hatfield is rated as a 4-star hotel, so I guess we could maybe get to the 5-star with some more renovations. Makes the accommodation fees seem a little less steep if that was possible. And then in the coming years, I'll be honest, I don't actually know too much about it, but I'm going to assume that renovations around college are going to take place. I know the common rooms, the fitness suite, and all of that. Pace is obviously quite an important place to renovate because it houses, you know, reading rooms, the library, the gym, so quite an all-inclusive place. But I'm going to assume that bit by bit Hatfield are going to improve, and as facilities officer I would make suggestions and find out what everybody else kind of wanted.
Okay, so as I said, I already spoke to Trevor, the facilities manager, and we had quite an in-depth discussion. And from what I can understand is, once the renovations are complete, they're hoping for the 18th of December to be the completion date. And then from then on, at the start of Epiphany, students will be able to move back in. All of the rooms will be en suite. They're going to move both of the gyms back in, the cardio gym and the other gym, and they're going to be housed in the centre on the ground floor. To the right of that, they're going to have a kitchen and a sort of common room, and to the left of that they're housing the music room. With regard to the library, I believe it's staying in position where it is now, in A and B stairs area. And there is a music room as well there, which I believe they're still debating whether or not to change it into an art room. Going forward though, I'm not entirely certain what the future for development is at Hatfield. I imagine they will continue to develop some of the older areas, but as facilities officer, I will take sort of an important role in ensuring that the pace redevelopment suits the students' needs. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Handing over to Dan. Hello. I was just wondering, obviously we've got the renovations coming up, and one of the main things that you'll be working on next term and this term is plans for the new common rooms. Obviously your year group has lost out on a significant amount of common room space, so I was just wondering sort of what you might do to install new things in the common rooms. What would your priorities be for equipment, for facilities, for students to use, and then also how are you going to encourage students to actually use it once it's been renovated?
Okay. Well, I'd say that the bar already houses some interesting sort of common space with the annex, with the pool table and things. With regard to the pace common rooms, I would perhaps introduce a TV and things. I know that there is sort of like a TV room and a porta cabinet at the minute behind the main building, and sort of I think we need some more seating area, somewhere where you can have sort of a communal space. Sort of like maybe like a coffee table in the middle where you can like just chill and chat to people. I also think it would be good to perhaps have a couple of computers or something in there so that people are able to sort of, if you need to sort of consult a wider collection of people when you're working on a group assignment or something, it would be a good space to sort of be able to have sort of a relaxed working atmosphere as well. I also think that it would be good to have perhaps like sort of like at least have some form of sort of drinks facilities, like a kettle and things, just so that you can take advantage of the space a bit better, I think. So, yeah. With regard to advertisements, I would say do an advertisement campaign or something.
Should we say the second question after Susanna's answer?
So the first bit is just what will your priorities be in terms of kitting out the new common room areas? What will you want to put in there for students to use?
Okay, so in terms of kitting it out, I think a football table would be quite a good addition to Hatfield, because I know we already have a pool table, but people love a good bit of table football, brings people together, some friendly in-college rivalry going on. Also a pool table I think would be a great idea, and perhaps a vending machine. I know that this has been probably suggested before, but it would just be really great, would actually bring people into the common room. And kitting it out wise, I'm going to say some sofas, some chairs, definitely a TV, maybe if people were up for it, like a communal like PlayStation or Xbox kind of vibe, depending on expense. I think also probably like some stackable chairs, just for if there were events that like you needed more chairs, like, I don't know, pre-drinks, so you don't have to like sit on the floor. And yeah, I would probably, for fabrics, put like a questionnaire out and ask what people thought, because you know we all have to look at it, so we don't want it to be ugly.
And the second part of that question was, how will you go about engaging students, particularly first years and livers in, to use the new space, because you haven't had access to any so far this term?
I think there's...
Sorry guys. On advertising it, okay. I would put loads of posters around Hatfield. I know that people in the exec are quite effective at doing that. I would also look at things that are popular around the university in general. Like, I know Caledonian Society is very popular, so I might have an introductory reeling night in the common room in order to encourage people to come and try it out, because once it's been kitted out so well, once you go once, you're gonna return. You've got to reel them in. And obviously I'd get involved in the JCR weekly email to email about that, and just make sure that people realise it's available, because we have loads of spaces. The Hatfield Library is actually really great. It has loads of books that the Bill Bryson seemingly have managed to make disappear, and the librarian's really helpful, and not that many people really go, so I think it's more about advertisement and letting people know what's there.
Okay. I think posters are definitely a very good idea to put them around in all of the common spaces. I would also go as far as sort of Facebook and social media to sort of advertise the new space and to promote use. I would perhaps introduce probably sort of a polling system. If people had some ideas on how to creatively use the space, we could sort of get those ideas together and have some sort of event in there every once in a while. I think it would be good to sort of, there's some very old maps that need updating and things to just let people know where things are. And I also think definitely announcing things perhaps formal or in the college bar, just saying that there's a new space, go check it out, go try it out. Or even in emails and things, if you could contribute to the exec email.
Okay, so now if we open up to you guys for questions, so does anyone have any questions?
So what is your experience in working with a bar team, and who in college would you speak to about updating the actual bar itself?
Let me Sam first.
Thank you. Well, I haven't had that much time to speak to the bar team themselves. I do know a few people who sort of volunteer on there. With regard to the bar space itself, I would say that there's definitely room for improvement. Some of it is just general maintenance, some of the sofas need reupholstering, the arms are damaged. The pool cues need replacing because one of them is missing, and perhaps get a couple of shorter cues, because I know that there's sort of that column in the way that makes it difficult to play. The ceiling above the session table definitely needs a clean. It's still covered in the splash marks from Hatfield Day last year. Going on to improve the bar itself, I would try to get a card reader brought in, because that is one of my pet peeves at the minute. That a few people have spoken to me about, and they've said that they'd like another way to pay, because it kind of disturbs the mood if you have to run all the way down the street to go to the cash point. I would also maybe do some polls to get some ideas on what beverages and drinks people want in. And again, utilisation of the space, we could sort of loan it out, sections of it to different societies and groups, so that we can take advantage of what we have. Perhaps some mood lighting as well to create some atmosphere.
Okay, so experience-wise, I took a gap year, and for that year I worked in a restaurant, and I wasn't behind the bar, but I was talking to the bar staff the whole time, and I realised that everything is done in a very particular way. All things kind of fall apart, and from working in that industry, I guess I've just kind of liaised with bar staff in general and have experience working in the service industry. Now, speaking to people wise, I would probably go to the bar one night, talk to them in general, because I think that that's kind of more effective than talking to just the person in charge, because really the people working behind the bar are the ones that are going to actually be affected by any changes. And then in terms of like using the space, I just find like sometimes it can get very, very crowded. So maybe like actually before a social event, like positioning the sofas and chairs, I don't know how effective that would actually be, but might make it be like a little less crowded. And yeah, making the sofas a little bit prettier.
Are there any more questions from anyone else?
As FACOF, a lot of what you might want to achieve is not actually wholly within your control. How would you go about making sure your ideas are brought into effect, seeing as you might face a lot of opposition from higher up, and you only have a very short time to push these ideas through?
Well, I think firstly, not be deterred from having big ideas, because if you don't have a big idea, then it's not going to happen at all. Then there's no chance. So if one of my ideas were to be rejected, I would think of a way that that could work on a smaller scale, so as to achieve some of the goals that I was trying to make happen. But I think also to probably like sense the ideas in a way, not to be like, let's open a cafe, but maybe let's get a vending machine, which, you know, might even be too big an idea, but you kind of have to try until you succeed. And to just keep on going with the ideas to higher up and explain it in a different way to make them understand why it'd be beneficial for everyone and not just a small group of people. Because I think if things would benefit like all of the common rooms, then people are more likely to accept it than it's to just benefit freshers or the JCR, I guess.
Could you possibly repeat the question, please?
As facilities officer, a lot of what you might want to achieve is not wholly within your control. How would you go about making sure your ideas are brought into effect, seeing as you might face a lot of opposition from higher up, and you only have a very short time to push these ideas through?
Well, I think that one of the key things is, again, to speak to the college staff and the key representatives there, so the facilities officer or the bar manager or the catering team, and to sort of find out what is actually feasible. We might have these big ideas and things, but if we can come to some sort of middle ground in which we're able to get the majority of what the students want, as well as it being sort of cost effective or even feasible, I think that'll be a good idea. Contact-wise, emails, setting up meetings. I think that a good idea would be to, I know that they already have some regular meetings anyway, but I think that like sort of a drop-in or something would be useful. With regard to sort of generating the ideas themselves, I think it would be a good idea to sort of, again, do polls with the students, and again, for the facilities role itself, perhaps offer open hours that people can come and speak, or like propose ideas, and a feedback system.
Are there any more questions?
I'm halfway through writing one, getting to go wrong.
We're going to have to come over here,
With regards to the bar annex, there's currently sort of like the pool table and the table tennis table, which are sort of quite close together and so close together perhaps that you can't play either game properly at the same time. Is there anything you guys would do to sort of help with that situation? Because like the pool table where it is at the moment, you know, you can't play actually a game of pool without the massive column or the wall, and there's a massive slope on it as well. And then the table tennis table, you know, you bump into each other all the time. It's just a bit of a pain.
Okay. Well, in their current positions, as I said, I would like to introduce some smaller pool cues to sort of deal with that reduced space. But I think that it might be possible to sort of have a rethink of the entire space itself, perhaps move one of the pool table or the tennis table around. Yeah, I think it's quite a difficult one really, because we are quite limited with space. And sort of within the box itself. Perhaps we could look at having nights where either the pool table takes primary position or the table tennis takes primary position, so that, and like if there's like some sort of like tournament thing going on that we can introduce, so that people do get to play the games that they want. It's just about sort of making the best of what we have, I think.
Well, I think this is one of those things where you have to think which ideas would be feasible, because you can't really go down knocking down walls in order to accommodate people's ball playing. However, the table tennis table is a lot more like movable than the pool table, I would say. So I'd say maybe like as a more permanent solution, so we're not like moving things in and out every day and not obstructing other areas of the bar which already get quite busy, we can maybe like move table tennis to the pace building common room, because then that also encourages people to go there. Like, I don't think anyone really has any particular preference to being in the bar to play table tennis. Like, drunk table tennis probably actually can only harm you. So apart from doing that, I think it's just basically moving things around, and when we have the pace building reopened, we will have a lot more options in terms of space. I don't really want to go suggesting bulldozing down a wall to Anthony Bash. I don't think you'd like me very much.
So which exec member do you think you'd cooperate the most with, and why?
I think I'd mostly cooperate with the events and activities officer, because like, with all these college spaces, it's about getting them used, and so by working with the entertainment officer and stuff, we can really take advantage of those spaces by advertising, you know, extra activities, making better use of the space, and just sort of like, I don't know really, just making the spaces more enjoyable to be in.
I agree in the sense that like coordinating with the social sec is really important, because if you're going to organise something, you kind of need people to be there for it to be successful. Otherwise, what's the point in having the space in the first place? But as well as that, I also think that maybe working with the treasurer to like actually get the funds to do the things that I would want to do, because like you can't really do that much without the money behind it. So kind of doing like mini campaigns, which I'm sure will be much enjoyed by the treasuring team.
Are there any more questions?
So throughout the renovations that we have now and that are planned for the future, more and more students are living off the main site, off the main campus. So how do you ensure that students living out, or like living off main campus, are not disadvantaged with respect to their access to facilities due to this living off site?
Okay, so I feel like they do actually feel quite hard done by, because everyone that I've spoken to there is like, oh yeah, I live in like Soichi Hall, like it sucks. So I think making that more of a positive experience, like showing them that they live away, so they get time away from everything, but making events that bring everyone together, because I know in Freshers Week everyone was together, so like the bar quizzes that we have and the open mic nights, having more things like that that encourage people to come in. I don't want to just talk about freshers, but I know that it's mainly freshers that are living there now. So just making events that are kind of talking about meeting new people, because I don't know how integrated those people are. I personally only met a few, and I don't really stay in that often. But basically just being really friendly, and on like social media, being like we want everyone to come, mentioning them specifically, and encouraging them to come in even though they don't actually have to, and maybe providing ice cream or something, some other bribery incentive.
I think that it would be good to perhaps have a bit of exec or JCR presence at these places, sort of at Soichi Hall, just to make them feel like they are part of the Hatfield experience and they are part of our college. I think it's important that we do integrate them and we do advertise towards them to get them to come in, because I know as someone who's lived out, it can be quite disconnecting. When I lived out, I lived at home because I'm a local. At my previous college, there was a lot of issues with public transport and getting there. Obviously, in Durham, you're not going to have to get a bus that far. But I believe that with regard to the facilities in particular, sort of the gym and things, even for people who live quite far out, we are still like the closest gym to them, since Freeman's Quay is down by the river. I think it is about advertising the facilities that we do have in college, and like the ones that are free, like saying, come on, like this is like here for you to use, we are supplying it, come use it. As I first said though, it is important to send people out there to reach out a bit.
Probably the last one. Tech has recently been a major issue within the JCR the past 2 years. So what are your capabilities within tech, and how do you go about managing your own personal or general shortfalls with regards to tech to ensure the JCR is not disadvantaged during our events or day-to-day operations?
I'm pretty good with tech. Tech's like my thing. I have a watch that like does stuff. With regard to the equipment and things, I did notice that we had like some technical issues at the zombie shaped activity and things. So I think it is important that you have someone who knows how to do it, to like set everything up in preparation, because it was quite a weight. Could you repeat the question a bit more again?
Yeah, I'll make it clearer, I suppose. So tech has recently been a major issue. What are your capabilities in tech, and how do you go about managing your shortfalls to ensure that the JCR is not disadvantaged during our events or day-to-day operation? Okay,
generally I'm pretty good with tech. Setting up computers, connecting projectors, everything along those lines. Perhaps my only slight weakness is with regard to sort of music equipment, but I learned pretty quick, and I have had some experience with music equipment that wise. I am generally the person that people go to in my family for tech support, and I do have quite an amusing anecdote. One time during Tesco's, I don't know if anyone's seen The Big Bang Theory, where Sheldon has a queue of people coming up to him asking for advice. That happened to me, and it was quite awkward and interesting, with a lot of elderly people going, "What's RAM?" and yeah.
I'm really good on iMovie. Also, I went to a very performing artsy school, so I was kind of around a lot of tech, a lot. I was also on the film academy. I went to Ireland to film a lot of racing. Almost got trampled by some horses. I'm alive, it's fine. And when it comes to things like speakers and music, I'm generally quite good. Obviously, it depends on the equipment. But I am a very quick learner. I do like techie things. I'm very good on computers. But I'm sure there are some limitations that I'll have. And if I need help, I will outsource intelligence from people that I deem to know lots about tech. I'll find someone that does computer science and I will abuse them so that they give me information.
I think that's left open.
There's been a lot of talk about, creating the spaces and bringing people into spaces, but I'd say for students, both livers in and livers out, the biggest problem is actually maintaining the spaces. Last year, the gym was absolutely filthy, and the porters would always lock it. Everybody knows about PG Common Room. They would get absolutely destroyed. I think the year before I came, all the couches had to be completely replaced. My year, all the ceiling panels were broken. Ping pong pedals get stolen. Pool cues get broken. In short, how would you ensure that this doesn't happen, and how would you ensure that things actually get replaced?
Okay, so first of all, I think that there should be a little slight replacement fund, but obviously that can only stretch so far. So I guess, with things like pool cues, they're things that people actually really want because they like playing pool. So maybe have a policy that if they get broken a certain number of times, they just won't get replaced for say a week, and then the next time they won't get replaced for longer, and then I think people might stop doing it. Obviously, if people get caught stealing things, there should be repercussions. But in terms of tidying, just put up notices being please keep these spaces clean. I don't know if this would necessarily work. I know in PG they have a chunder chart and in the common room, and that has stopped people from messing up. the common room somewhat, but something along those lines in terms, I don't know, naughty chart people would make the place is dirty, just cleaning up after yourself. Be a decent human being.
Yeah, I think what Susanna said is pretty good with regard to sort of disciplinary action against sort of people who intentionally damage sort of college and JCR property. With regard to the facilities and things, I did go around with a notepad and sort of noted everything that was kind of wrong and damaged. And I think that it is important that we have like a system in place through which people can report problems. So I would like perhaps introduce sort of like a feedback or a reporting system. I would, as I said earlier, I would like to do sort of like a daily check of things in each of the facilities to make sure that the places are well maintained and all of the equipment is sort of in one piece. Yeah, I think that kind of about covers it.
And then one more question.
Okay, so we have lots of sports teams in the JCR and they have lots of facilities and equipment. How comfortable would you feel about helping sort of manage their stock, keep a record of things, replacing things that go missing so that teams have the right equipment? And also, how comfortable would you feel about managing the spaces on which they practice?
I think I'd be pretty comfortable with that. As I said, I'm a very organised person. I do a lot of spreadsheets. So keeping sort of stock of things would be pretty easy for me. With regard to making sure the spaces are all maintained, again, having them checked regularly is a key element, as well as sort of the reporting system, and also just ensuring that when they have used the equipment, it is put back and like in the right place. Again, perhaps sort of a lost and found page for Hatfield would be useful, because things do go or wander every once in a while. But yeah, I think.
Well, I love to count, so I would originally take a stock count of all of the items that each sport team have, and then following that, I think I would talk to the captains of each team, not just like divisions of sport, but like A, B, C, and then ask them if they would keep their own check, and if anything goes missing to let me know, and maybe if places get a little bit messed up, to have a bit of a rota that each team captain enforces. And everyone in Hatfield is quite into sport and is quite proud, so I think they'll very much be up for maintaining the spaces that they practice in and letting everyone know if they have a problem, because I was playing a netball match where we didn't have enough bibs, wasn't good, bit confusing, and yeah.
Okay, so now each of you will have just 2 minutes to sum up why everyone should vote for you. So Susanna, if you start.
Am I like standing, sitting?
Stand.
Okay, fine. Okay. To conclude, I can confidently say that I think that I've been an appropriate choice for the role of facilities officer. Were I to be elected, I would make it my mission to improve Hatfield and to listen to what others think should be done. I want to involve everyone in college as much as possible in decision making, as we all have to live with these choices. I truly care about Hatfield, and I would love the opportunity to make a tangible difference, both to my peers and to everyone around college. As someone in my first year, I'm able to look at the issues at hand from a fresh perspective, and I will be experiencing any changes made personally for the next 3 years. The chance to be on exec would be an amazing one, as I'd be able to fully immerse myself in every aspect of college life, not just in the role of facilities officer, but in helping anyone that needed it. Something very important to me is the integration of those in Soichi Hall with the rest of Hatfield, and I would work with the social sec in order to make this happen. I think that those residents should be more informed about the renovations going on at pace, in order to make them more excited about the move and to qualify what might be viewed by some as an inconvenience. An ATM in college would also be one of my suggestions, dependent on the views of the treasurers, as sometimes the walk to a cash machine is just a bit too much for the intoxicated on a cold winter's night. Although this may reach some opposition, I feel that a vending machine with both healthy and unhealthy snacks would be a great addition to Hatfield, especially in exam period. More vegan and vegetarian options at mealtimes are also of particular importance to me. Not because of a lack of a love of meat, but because I have witnessed many peers with dietary requirements struggle to find much more than a salad on a number of any days in a week. It is important that we as a college are inclusive of everyone, and as facilities officer, I would make sure that Hatfield spaces are used more frequently, especially the common rooms, so as to promote intra-college integration. Moreover, I would love the opportunity to engage in a role that would allow me to involve myself so fully in Hatfield. If I'm elected, I promise to try my best not to let you down. What I lack in experience, I'm sure I make up for in a potentially irritating amount of enthusiasm for college life.
As I hope you've seen now, I am very passionate about this college, and I really do want to get involved in college life, and I do want to do this position. With regard to the spaces, I think it's important that you have someone with experience who can manage the college space effectively. I'm a very proactive person. As I said, I went around and I spoke to the facilities manager, and I also went around making checklists of things that could be improved. With regard to experience, I did work for the Department of Works and Pensions during my year out as their IT guy, and with that I also managed the spaces and I helped people use the computers to improve their employability. As the JSCR photographer for John Snow College, I did work with the exec and I did help plan some of the events to ensure the right photos were taken and that events went smoothly. And the quality of my work, which I was hoping to show you in that banner, but I will not be able to do that, in my manifesto, I always strive to be the best. I always try to do the best that I can do. And as your facilities officer, I'd hope that I'd be able to maintain the spaces for you, to improve them, and to ensure that they meet the needs of the students. So, thank you for your time. Thank you.